In this week's Todd Talks, I'm going to share with you the three biggest mistakes that sellers are making right now in the marketplace. And by knowing them, you can take advantage of them during the negotiations and get yourself a much better deal. And by implication, if you're a seller, do not do these things. All right, let's look at them. So first, pricing too high. Okay, so right now, 3 out of 4 sellers are still pricing their houses way higher than current market value and current appraised value. And what happens is, on the buy side, your agent, that's why it's so important to have a great agent, will analyze the recent sales relative in proximity and similarity and size to the house you're looking at. And they'll come up and say, hey, this is probably what it'll appraise for. This is probably what it's worth. And right now, 3 out of 4, that market value, current market value, is lower than what they list it for. And so the house is sit. So when you see long-term days on market, it typically means it's overpriced. And what happens to those sellers is they eventually get to a point where they reduce the price or are willing to negotiate. And that's where you're going to have room to come and get a better price and get some closing costs paid. So be looking for that days on market. If you are a seller, make sure you have a great listing agent and listen to them. You do better by pricing the house at market value and creating lots of interest and selling it quickly without a price reduction and sometimes even getting multiple offers. The second thing, avoiding repairs. So during the COVID boom, you just put a sign in your front yard of your house sold. You didn't have to do any repairs. People would say, hey, no repairs, waive appraisal, all sorts of incentives buyers would give to sellers. That's all gone. So what's happening is sellers are quite often avoiding those. So that's another thing to take advantage of. When you view the property, let's say it's priced right, but you see a lot of repairs, there's 2 sets of negotiation. One is the initial set, and you could leverage that deferred maintenance during the initial negotiation, but also you're going to do your own buyer's inspection. And when that comes back, you can present that to the seller and negotiate a second set of negotiations to get closing cost concessions and cut your cost to buy that house. And that is very typical, and it works very well because once you give that list to the seller, it puts them on notice, and technically they're going to have to disclose that stuff to any future buyer now that they're aware that it's out there. So it's a very effective strategy to use. And the last one is playing hardball. This is the one that's difficult to do. My best bet is this, and my best advice is this, because I see this all the time. I see where a buyer and a seller, in fact, I had this one happen this last weekend, where they came together. The seller was sort of difficult and played hardball, but they ended up in the acceptable zone where the buyer wanted. It took a while, but because of the behavior, and this was like a 2-day negotiation, by the end of it, the buyers got frustrated and walked away. So what I want to say is this: if the seller is playing hardball and unreasonable and not negotiating, that is a cue to walk away. So that is an advice. Walk away, don't waste your time. It also gives you power in a negotiation. You lose all power in a negotiation if you emotionally get tied to the outcome and don't give yourself the ability to walk away. Walking away gives you power. Sometimes they come back. But the other thing is too is if they are negotiating with you and they're just being difficult and you end up where you want, or sometimes they want something like unreasonable but small, give it to them. Don't cut off your nose to spite your face because you have an unreasonable seller if you're getting substantially what you want. So those are the 3 tips to get the best way to buy a house right now. Is give me a call. Let me build you a great mortgage plan. A mortgage plan is a strategy on the right product, customized to your goals, that gets you the lowest cost mortgage. That's what I do for my clients. Give me a call and have a great day.